Welcome to today's Food for Thought class. Today's Food for Thought is a food tour of Vietnamese food. I chose Vietnamese food because it's one of my favorites and it's very close to my heart. I am a first-generation Asian American. I am the first person in both sides of my family to be born in the United States. My father is half Indian and half Vietnamese, and my mother is half Chinese and half Vietnamese. So growing up, I was mostly exposed to Vietnamese and Chinese food and some version of American food that was slightly altered with an Asian touch. Of course, I love traditional and the ever-evolving American food, but my comfort food remains to be Vietnamese. Let's begin with a little food history on Vietnam. Foods of Vietnam are known for their refreshing flavors, varied textures, and vibrant colors. The flavors reflect the country's nearly 2,000 years of foreign incursions and local adaptation. As a result, became a unique culinary blend of ingredients and techniques from East and Southeast Asia, with a touch of Europe. Vietnam's lengthy coastline has long invited foreign traders and intruders, especially its northern neighbor China, which began colonizing Vietnam in the 1st century BC. The Chinese pushed into Vietnam on and off for about 1,000 years, influencing its social structures, language, and its food. After many uprisings, the Vietnamese emerged and survived that era, and Chinese words were added to the vocabulary as well as Chinese spices to their foods. They intermarried and intertwined cultural elements ranging from Buddhism to chopsticks. Once again, foreign aggressors, including Europeans, made their way to Vietnam, and Vietnamese culture continued to absorb and reinterpret foreign ideas. The 20th century brought civil and proxy war along with French, Japanese, and American presence. Already enriched by foreign ideas, the Vietnamese rubbed shoulders once again, yielding some of its most popular dishes: pho, a noodle soup reflecting the French love for beef, and banh mi, making perfect use of the French baguette. The Vietnam War officially ended in 1973, but the promises of ceasefire and reunification between the North and South Vietnam quickly vanished and hostilities resumed. In 1975, when Saigon fell to the communist North Vietnamese, a flood of South Vietnamese desperately escaped. Since its defeat in 1975, more than 100,000 Vietnamese were evacuated, and many others followed via boats and orderly departure programs. They resettled Vietnamese communities all over the world, bringing their food and culture to places like California, Paris, and Sydney, Australia. Wherever Vietnamese refugees settled, they brought food memories with them. Now that we have some background information on Vietnamese food history, let's talk about Vietnamese common ingredients and flavors, which include herbs such as Vietnamese basil, mint, lemongrass, cilantro, and lime, red chili peppers, and fish sauce. You can find those ingredients and flavors like these at places such as H Mart and my favorite Vietnamese store, Oregon Market in South Philly, or in Chinatown, a place we often visited for many of our grocery items growing up. These days, however, you can even find some Vietnamese staples at the local grocery stores, such as Whole Foods and Giant. Favorite foods and popular street foods in Vietnam include pho, a noodle soup with sliced beef, the Vietnamese crepe, a thin egg crepe with crunchy sprouts, onion, shrimp, and pork, crispy spring rolls served wrapped in lettuce and dipped in fish sauce, summer rolls served with peanut sauce, bun, fluffy rice noodles served with grilled meats or shrimp. I've added a video on how to make pho, so let's watch.
Firstly, we will place the beef bones in a pot filled with water and bring to boil over high heat. After boiling for about 5 to 10 minutes, you will see the impurities rise to the top. Then dump out the whole pot and rinse the bones well under running water. This is a very important step to keep the broth clear, and it will save your time skimming up the scum later. Don't worry about losing the flavor because during the first 5 to 10 minutes, you only get the badness of the bones. After that, place the bone into a large pot filled with 5 liters of water. Make sure the pot is clean because you don't want anything to contaminate the broth. Then add a tablespoon of salt, a tablespoon of sugar, and 1 peeled onion. The onion will help to keep the broth clear and also add more flavor to the pot. Also add in the beef and bring to boil. Then lower the heat to medium and cook for about 1 to 2 hours. Do not cover the pot and occasionally skim off the scum and the fat. To create the amazing aroma of pho, you're gonna need 2 pieces of ginger about the size of your thumb, 3 star anise, 2 cinnamon sticks, 2 to 3 black cardamom, and 1 onion. So easy to remember, right? PHO pho. You can use more spices, but those are the most basics to create the pho aroma. We're gonna cut the ginger into slices and the onion into halves. Next, to bring out the aroma in these elements, we're gonna grill them directly on the stove. If you're a Westerner, I hope you're not freaking out when you see this. But yeah, this is really what we Vietnamese do to bring out the flavor of the spices. We grill them open flame until they are charred. You can also grill them in the oven, but I just feel it more fragrant this way. Now open the window and spread this amazing pho aroma to the neighbors. Sometimes I also use extra coriander roots. So I'm gonna stock all the small items into a large tea bag. These tea bags are very cheap and it's disposable, so very convenient. You can also wrap them in a cheesecloth or anything to make sure that it's not fall out. Then peel the onion and scrape up the charred part. You can also use shallots instead of onions. Make sure you clean off all the black parts, otherwise it's gonna make your broth turn dark and that is not what you want. And add all of these to the pot. It smells so amazing right now. What we aim for is a very clear broth, but amazingly fragrant and flavorful. Depending on the cut of the beef, it might take about 1 to 2 hours to cook. When it's cooked, soak the beef in a bowl of cold water for about 10 minutes. This is to prevent the meat from turning dark and drying up. Also remove the onions because you don't want them to break and make the broth less clear. Then add seasoning powder, salt, sugar, fish sauce to your taste. Then drain the beef and slice thinly into bite-sized pieces. Meanwhile, we will continue to cook the broth for a few more hours. Traditional pho can be cooked overnight. But if you don't have much time, 2 to 3 hours should be okay. Also slice some fresh raw beef thinly if you like. For the garnishes, we're gonna slice onion into paper-thin slices. Then soak in a bowl of ice cold water to reduce the strong smell and make it more crunch. For the spring onion, I'm gonna detach the white and the green part and then chop up the green part. Pho in Hanoi is only garnished with onions and spring onions. But in other parts of Vietnam, like in the central or in the south, you will see a garnish platter, which includes Asian Thai basils and sawtooth herbs. And also bean sprout, which is blanched in hot water for about 10 seconds. So blanch the bean sprouts and drain, and then wash the vegetables. And also the next step we're gonna do is to cook the noodles. If you use dry noodle like I do, soak them in cold water to let them soften a bit. Then blanch them in boiling water. You can do this for each bowl or boil all the noodles at one time. After that, wash it under cold water and then hot water. That way the noodle will stay separated and do not clump. To assemble the dish, fill the bowl 1/3 full of noodles and then place on your beef slices, the onions, and some black peppers. Pour the hot soup over and serve!
Some favorite Vietnamese snacks and sweet treats include Vietnamese coffee, a strong drip coffee with sweetened condensed milk, a must-have with donuts or fried sesame balls. jadel, which is a delicious sweet sticky rice with black-eyed peas cooked in coconut milk, and anything taro, which is a purple sweet potato that makes a great smoothie, cake, or pudding. Vietnamese people love their fruits, and often it's the snack of choice. Popular fruits include rambutan, lychee, jackfruit, mangoes, durian, pomelos, and passion fruit. I hope you enjoyed my video, and I hope it inspired you to open yourself up to trying Vietnamese cuisine. It can be so refreshing on a hot day and so heartwarming on a cold day and so comforting on any day. Your taste buds will experience a rich history of Vietnam's indigenous flavors and techniques mixed with ideas adapted from Europe and other Asian places. It'll be a journey you will not forget. My name is Sheila King, CSS Dietetic Intern. With any questions, comments, or concerns, please email us. Thanks for watching my video and have a great day.